Hello, good afternoon. This is News Today. I am Emefa Akosiadet. In our headlines this hour, financial sector fraud hits a 4-year high with mobile money and digital payment platforms emerging as the biggest targets. With details, as the latest Bank of Ghana fraud report reveals, cases have surged by nearly 50%.
MTN mobile money, Airtel Tigo, and Telecash. So we are looking at fraud within that sector. I must say, this sector is very tricky.
The Finance Ministry begins saving for massive 54 billion Ghana cedi debt repayment due next year, as it acknowledges the difficult decision it has to make to stabilize the economy. We'll hear from the Finance Minister to Forson during a working visit by the Vice President. Coming up in the news, military officer, 2 officers and 2 others injured in standoff between KMA task force and squatters at Asafo Overpass. With details, as affected occupants insist the demolished structures were their homes and businesses. We're JoyNews, we're independent, we're fearless, and we're credible. Please stay for details. First in the news, Finance Minister Dr. Kasialo Forson says the government has begun setting aside funds to meet a 54 billion Ghana cedi domestic debt exchange program repayments due next year. Just days ago, the ministry announced the settlement of a $700 million Eurobond debt obligation ahead of schedule, following earlier 2025 payments totaling $1.4 billion. Now, speaking during a working visit by the Vice President, Dr. Forson said the government has also built sufficient buffers to meet 2 major DDEP debt repayments scheduled for this year, with one expected to be paid next month. He said the government has had to make difficult decisions to restore macroeconomic stability and put the economy back on track.
2025 January, with considerable fiscal strain, where the fiscal policy of state had largely been distorted, and so we required fiscal correction. And so I'm sorry to say that we had to introduce some significant reforms. These reforms, some not palatable, but they were actually needed and required. And the options available to us, indeed, if we have to implement the reset agenda of His Excellency the President and Madam yourself, it will mean that we had to take the difficult decision. And so we have been implementing quite a difficult policies. The results is clear for all of us to see. Our prognosis was just right, and our medication was also good. And so we can see that the economy is responding to the treatment that we prescribed for. Beyond that, our debt was a major one. And so we saw some significant amount of harms. For example, this year we had to pay Eurobonds about $1.4 billion debt repayment alone, of which we have successfully paid that. We were smart enough to pay one before 31st, even though it was due in January, but we had to pay 31st so that it will serve as a major relief for us going into the year. And then we paid one just last week, another 700 million. So about 1.4 billion has been paid. That's what is due. Then we also had 2 significant DDEP payments that we have to pay. 10 billion Ghana cedis each. So we paid one in February, and one is also due first week in August, another 10 billion cedis. But I'm proud to say that we are prepared to make that payment because we have built enough buffers to be able to pay that. Next year is another big year for us. Next year alone, we are seeing debt repayment. DDEP alone, we have to service debt about 54 billion Ghana cedis. In the month of February.
The Vice President commended the ministry for the progress made so far, particularly the difficult decision it has taken to put the economy back on track. She, however, expressed concern about the huge sums being spent on debt servicing, noting that those resources could have been channeled into the country's development.
Directors, staff, friends of the media, all of us, again, good morning. Thank you so much for this, for such a kind welcome, and for sharing your office with us.
Thank you.
Even if we can only look at it from the outside, we still admire it, and we want to thank you for it. We know that when we came into office early January, we knew that the situation was going to be difficult. Maybe the practical situation deepened that difficulty. And so we needed all of us to come on board to try and solve the problems. Definitely, you don't inherit only the benefits. You also inherit responsibilities. And I'm very happy that the Ministry of Finance was able to rise to the occasion, stay focused, and to deliberately take us out of the difficulties. I want to congratulate the Minister, the Deputy Minister, all of you, even those who are not able to be with us in this room. Everybody has played a role. And my Chief Director has already explained, my Chief of Staff has explained why we are here. Just to, to put more names to more faces, to let you know that we're all working as a team. It just so happens that you are in this building or in this ministry, but others are also elsewhere complementing the work that we do. So we need to see each in the eye of the other so we can support each other. Yes, we are supporting our president, but we're also supporting our country. So let us put our country at the forecourt of our discussion and of our deliberations to ensure that what we do, the decisions we make, are impacting positively on the lives of all of us and of our citizens. So I want us to raise that as part of the objective of what we do and why we do it. Yes, as I said at the beginning, there were very, very difficult and hard decisions. I wish too that everybody had been appointed. I wish too that things were a little bit easier than they are now. But we also know that could have been much worse.
Let's talk about justice delivery. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, has given a firm assurance that there will be free and fair justice delivery under the public tribunal system. There's currently a bill being processed in Parliament, which, when passed, will establish tribunals, the district and regions, for expedited criminal hearings. The minority, however, is opposing the bill, insisting it will give rise to political victimization and resurrect the dark days of extrajudicial actions under the PNDC. Listen to MP for Damongo Samuel Abu Jinapo on the floor of Parliament on Wednesday.
Build more court complexes, recruit more judges, recruit more judicial staffs, and if you want a jury system, let's have a jury system. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to believe this is job for the boys. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe this is job for the boys. It shouldn't be. And Mr. Speaker, the point, I don't want to believe that we want to recruit some lawyers from certain courtesans and make them chairpersons of regional tribunals, and get 2 people to become members of regional tribunals and get jobs and have some with Mr. Speaker, with respect, some kangaroo system where opponents of the administration will be run through a certain judicial system and jailed. We don't want that. Let's have the existing court system. Let's have the district magistrate court, the circuit court, the high court, the court of appeal, the Supreme Court. That is the judicial system in all civilized, developed countries in the world. We do not want regional tribunals. They bring about bad memories, scary memories, and bad dreams and intimidation in our country. Let's reject it.
Dr. Dominic Ayine has been responding to the concern, and he says there will be free and fair justice delivery.
I express the view that this is an attempt to bring back the tribunals, make it a case of a job for the boys, appoint members affiliated to the current government, that is panel members and chairmen, affiliated to the current government, and then have the members of the opposite party being dragged before the tribunals and then, facing kangaroo justice. I want to assure them that this is a tribunal that is party neutral, all right? That will be, the tribunals, when they are established, will not be targeting any particular political party. They will dispense justice in accordance with law, and they will be fair, and transparent in the dispensation of justice. So that is something that I want to assure every Ghanaian, including the MPP.
My colleague James Aveji joins us via Zoom for more on this. James, so all of this debate surely is because the bill was on the floor yesterday. How much work has been done and what more is left for it to be passed?
Well, the bill after the first reading was referred to the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee to work on and bring back to Parliament. And so the report of the committee was brought to the floor yesterday and subsequently adopted. That opened the door for a debate on the principles of the bill, where we heard the minority taking strong exception to the principles of the bill. Largely, or most of the minority members who objected to this said that this will not augur well with the justice system. A few of them actually agree that the bill can be passed on the basis that there will be some greater work on a lot of the things that are in there in order to redirect the focus of the bill. If that is done, then they can fully support the bill. And so it went through the debate on the principles. It has been referred back to the committee. They will bring it back for a third and final consideration after the second reading, where they will do the clause-by-clause amendment and then possibly a third and final reading for passage. We have to also know that before all of this happened, the AG himself moved a motion, or a motion was moved for this bill to be, processed on an expedited action, which means that if it is brought back today, there may be the possibility of it going through and a possible passage if the amendments that are supposed to be done are not that bulky to take care of. And so we look forward to how it will pan out if it returns today. I suspect it may return because of the motion that was moved for it to be seen on an expedited action. And so we are looking forward to that, where it will be brought back for consideration, a third and final reading for passage.
I see, James. Well, the Assurance Committee resumed hearing. Which minister appeared and what transpired?
The Agric Minister, Dr. Eric Opoku, has appeared before the committee, and he's been responding to a number of things. Two key things stood out, which were the Nkukon Kitinkiti project, as well as the Planting for Food and Jobs project, which was initiated under the current and previous governments, respectively. For the Planting for Food and Jobs, he said when they came into office, they have uncovered that a number of the vehicles that were procured by government for that project, most of them have been auctioned already, a matter they are looking into. And for the Nkukon Kitinkiti, some of the beneficiaries, these are layer beds which needed to be used for egg production. But some of the beneficiaries have consume the beds already, which is a challenge they need to fix and do some more sensitization for the success of the program.
Well, thank you so much, James. You're watching News Today. Away from that, let's talk about finances. So let me take you back to finances. Now, fraud cases across Ghana's regulated financial sector have reached a 4-year high, with digital payment platforms and mobile money services emerging as the biggest targets. Now, the latest industry data shows reported fraud cases surged by nearly 50% in 2025, rising it from 60,733 cases in 2024 to 24,778, with a total value at risk estimated at 101 million Ghana cedis. Now, the trend reflects a growing shift from traditional banking fraud to digital scams as more Ghanaians embrace mobile and electronic payments. Anthony Menu is my colleague and also with the data and research desk. Anthony, let's put some meanings to the data. Break it down for us. Anthony, please unmute if you can hear me. And my question will be, what sectors, the sector had named a few things, but reiterate what sectors the reports looked at and what the details were.
Yes, so the reports actually looked at a few sectors, and I'll actually name them. We have the banks, and then we have the specialized deposit taking institutions, as well as the payment service providers. If you look at the data over the past 4 years, banks and the service, the specialized deposit taking institutions have actually been reporting fewer cases and also lower exposure. However, we are seeing a different case for the payment service providers, where we've seen fraud cases increasing by some 98%, and the value at risk also going up by some 42%. If you look at the data in the 2025 report, the fraud cases in banks actually fell from some 716 in 2024 to 472, while the value at risk actually declined from some 75 million to 57 million. The special deposit taking institutions also recorded fewer cases, dropping from 344 to 182. However, in their case, the value at risk actually increased, almost doubled, from 4.5 million in 2024 to 8 million, meaning that we actually had, in as much as we had fewer cases in that sector, we had larger amounts being involved. Now, to look at the big catch, where we have the payment service providers, we actually recorded some increase in the cases from 15,673 to 24,124, and the value involved almost doubled from 19 million to 37 million. That is the case that we are having in this report, Amapa.
Well, Anthony, so interestingly, the report as well cites cases of staff involvement. And what are some of these cases?
We actually have a number of staff that were actually involved in these fraud activities. But if you compare the figures in 2024 to that of 2025, we actually saw a decline, some 40% decline. Because in 2024 we had 65 staff being involved in these fraudulent activities. But in 2025 we had only 219 individuals being involved. If you look at that, some 139 out of them were actually involved in cash theft and other cash-related activities. Now, if you a careful look at the data will tell you that 75 staff members were actually sacked for various reasons, and out of that, some 44 of them were linked to cash theft-related fraud. And then if you compare this figure, the staff that were sacked, if you compare it to that of last year, which was some 155, it means that, in 2024, which was some 155, it will tell you that we actually recorded a decline in the staff that were sacked last year, MFR.
Anthony, thank you so much. So that's the crunch version of the report. However, Head of Fraud Investigations and Reporting at the Bank of Ghana, Eric Cabello, explains the modus operandi of these fraudsters. Eric Cabello, he spoke on the Super Morning Show.
Service providers is what we refer to as the electronic money. So we are looking at MTN mobile money, Airtel Tigo, and Telecash. So we are looking at fraud within that sector. I must say this sector is very tricky. No, the fraudsters don't usually use much hacking techniques. They just play on our mind. They use manipulative methods, social engineering, fake calls, and a whole lot to get people to give out very vital information. And with this information, they are able to hack or get into our mobile wallet, and they are able to transfer monies from it.
Okay.
So we need to, as users of these services, we need to be vigilant. We receive a whole lot of fake calls every now and then. We need to know which one is real and which one is fake. We sometimes receive SMS alerts saying that you have won some amount of money. You haven't participated in any raffle or any program. So how come that you have won an amount? So we need to be vigilant as users of these products.
Out of all of the staff implicated in these fraud cases in the banks, only 35% of them lost their jobs. As the regulator, how do you explain this?
So when it comes to fraud, when a fraud incident occurs, there's something that in the legal field they say odi alteram pattern. You need to give fair hearing to the other side. Now, when a fraud incident occurs, the institutions are supposed to investigate to find out the root cause. So it's not in all cases that you have these staff implicated. These staff have not directly benefited from the fraud incident in terms of monetary value. Some were due to certain form of negligence, which got them implicated. And so upon the investigation and going to the disciplinary committee, there would be some sanctions that will be meted out and not necessarily a dismissal.
Well, let's learn how not to fall victim for this situation. Joining us with more on this is certified fraud examiner and investigator Ransford Nana Addo. He advises against using date of birth as memo pins or passwords while urging regulators to strengthen authentication. But of course, he's here in studio. All fraud cases, Ransford, have declined drastically. You realize that the report is saying that, well, the specialized deposit-taking institutions, they've surged. But it looks as if payment platforms seem to be the one that is taking the greatest hit. How is all of this panning out?
I'm not surprised at all. If you look at what we were used to checks, today how many people issue checks? We are all moving to the digital space. And that is where the fraudsters know that we are growing our numbers. The fraudsters know that people are now having confidence within the payment system, the digital payment systems. So they have just moved. Typically, we are having cases of check fraud. You notice that there is a decline.
Sure.
Now, what is worried is the cash suppression bit of it, which the breakdown of the report shows that the rural and community banks are leading the charge with over 90%.
In terms of the platform?
The number of cases that are being recorded in terms of cash suppression. What is this one? Get money, go and put it in my bank account for me. The money doesn't get into the account. Somebody keeps it in his pocket. And that is on the increase. It's worrying because it's an indictment on our financial inclusion drive as a country, where you have people, staff of organizations, bank staff suppressing cash that is supposed to earn in customers' account. The farmer, the driver, the market woman who we are convincing that don't keep monies in your bedrooms, bring it to, if you like, the rural banks. And the suppression is increasing over there. So that is worrying.
Well, what do you think is the major problem? Is it that digital literacy is low, or just the mode has become more sophisticated?
It's a combination of both. Again, I reference how we used to make payments, which today we are all moving from physical cash to the digital space. It is only normal that criminals, they are not interested in your channels. They are interested in money, and they are going to follow the money wherever you go. Now, the second bit of it is that I do not think, if you look at the growth in our digital payment, the corresponding literacy has been something that we should be proud of.
Explain that.
A lot of people are transacting on the digital space, on their mobile banking apps, on their Momo and all that, but they do not understand the risk. If you listen to Eric earlier this morning, he mentioned that what we're experiencing is not something so technical. Look at the cyber attacks, the hacking statistics. It is nothing. All we are experiencing is more of psychological, tricks, calling people to tell them that you have won something, send money to this one, then they also send. You have gotten a link, click on it, and then input your card details, and people do. So the level of digital, fraud awareness is very, very low.
Okay, so well, of course, people know, but people still are quite gullible, right? Between those who are gullible and the fact that the system must be so robust to protect people who are gullible, which one will you roll the problem? Which doorstep will you roll the problem to?
I think that we need to tap ourselves at the back and say we've done well. Ghana Card has come to close a certain gap. If you look at those days, somebody goes to a banking hall, he's going to take money, and he goes to impersonate another person. Today, you can't do that anymore because the biometric details will expose you. Now, if you move from inside the banking hall to what we are seeing now, where people are sending money to wallets that are registered with fake names, it means that we need to solve a problem on our SIM registration. Because these monies are not being moved into space, it's being moved to registered wallets. So if the registration is done with fictitious documents, then it means that we'll follow and follow and follow, and we won't be able to find where the money has gone to. But I think that we should tap ourselves in the back because Ghana Card has come to close a certain gap. But I do not think that we have even utilized, if you like, 35% of what we should be using the Ghana Card for. Today, people are using it as a normal plastic. Oh, look at my Ghana Card, that is my face. No. We should deploy the biometric verification.
Who are you speaking to now? The fintechs,
regulators, fintechs, and even the consumers. It is not enough for you to say that, show me your Ghana Card, then I show it to you and I pass. I can just pick anybody's picture, put it on another person's Ghana Card, and say that is me. The most important component of our verification system is the biometric side of it.
But Ransford, while I recognize the role that consumers as well will play, and it's, of course, contributing to the high surge, what about very sophisticated digital, how people are able to use high softwares to hack systems and get that money, regardless of what you, the consumer, will do perfectly? What about that?
So, again, if we are discussing the Bank of Ghana report, you notice that cyber attacks has actually not been...
It hasn't surged much.
Yes, it hasn't surged.
It is the other way around.
Exactly. It is a human behavior, the abuse of trust, people believing those who are calling them, parting with money and all that. However, if you look at the level of investment within the country, now every bank in this country has a cybersecurity officer. What that means, chief security officer in terms of the cyberspace, a CISO. It is a regulatory demand that somebody must police the systems.
Right.
Investments have also gone on. What I think we should be doing more is that people raise that there's no amount of systems or sophistication that can deal with somebody who is ignorant or somebody who is just believing because I heard a jingle of a bank, so I'm parting with money. No.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're big on, of course, those who are hit more because you fall prey to these scammers and all of that. But again, back to the big giants who can probably shield us. What would you say to the regulators? I hear you talk about the Ghana Card. I hear you talk about, a few things that we can do to do better, to be better. But current fraud detection system, generally, I've had this conversation with you on the AM show before. How robust?
I'm happy you remember. I think that we need to break the silo approach.
What's that?
Now we have regulators who are, if you like, regulating telecom companies like the NCA, the Bank of Ghana, the police, the judiciary. What we need to do is to come to the table and say that what is the way out. Now, look at how it pans out. Bank can lose money and it can end up in the telco.
Okay.
If somebody moves money from my bank account fraudulently, and it goes into a telco wallet, which has not been registered properly, it is not a banking issue. But at the end of the day, we all suffer the consequences. What we need to do is to come to the table and have one single point of truth.
Okay.
That if this is the identification system we are going with, let's collapse all the small ones from our voters' ID and have one single point of truth and also share information. The collaboration hasn't been that effective.
Before I let you go, Ransford, single point of truth, will you associate yourself with the communications minister saying that the SIM registration, he's advocating that we re-go through the process because he thinks that's how we consolidated, even the Ghana card and how we went through the process, he doesn't think was robust. Do you think that this is where to start from?
I think that there's a lot of sense in that conversation that we need to have, and we need to have it urgently. As I talk to you now, there are SIM cards being sold on the street with people's names that the owners of those Ghana cards are not even aware. But somebody, some way, somehow, has registered a lot of SIM cards and is selling. And that is how come we are having a surge in the payment system fraud, because...
How peel us back to Ghana card?
Yes.
So we have to relook at that as well?
Where we need to, like I said, we need to integrate it properly to our SIM registration, to our hospital registration, our school management, our certification system. Because you see, the fraudster is not interested in this is a bank, this is a telecom, this is an insurance. The fraudster wants money. So what we need to do is to come together at the table and say that how do we fight a common enemy irrespective of the sector?
Well, thank you so much, Ransford.
Welcome.
We've learned a few things. Well, away from that, the government sends a strong message ahead of the National Sanitation Day exercise, warning that traders who open their shops on Friday will be under fire. As the government demands full participation, the Minister for Local Government, Chieftains, Religious Affairs and Sanitation, Ahmed Ibrahim, says all shops must remain closed during the exercise, warning that anyone who opens for business instead of taking part will face the consequences.
Friday, all other political activities must be suspended. Everybody must be on board. All markets and shops must be closed. And this one, the CDS is on board. And the IGP is on board. And the Controller General for Immigration is on board. So if you go and open your shop, you will be on fire. This is not just the normal thing that we've been doing. If a president speaks and you want to take it for granted, the law will deal with you. He is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. All shops will be closed. All markets will be closed. And the market, when the flood came, it entered most of the market. So if we don't close them and sweep and clear all the debris and disinfect most of the places, they will be selling all those things for us to eat, and there will be outbreak of diseases and those things.
Now, the minister's comments have generated mixed reactions among traders. While some market women say they support the initiative because cleaner communities benefit everyone, others fear closing their businesses, even for a few hours, will affect their daily income.
It's unfair. It's not good. So please, we are all involving to clean the country, especially local markets. Me, it's here I make my money. If I get 2 cedi price here. So me, I support to clean all the country.
If President Mahama wants us to close our shops and support the cleanup exercise, we have no problem with that. We support this initiative because the sanitation situation affects our health and we all contribute to the problem. If government is helping us clean the city, we must support it.
So what do we have? Baba next time, no. I mama, your friend's announcement and quite chileka and sana. Bibi Sab and Tiadana say in Napo.
In our already every month every month
we only appeal to government to announce such exercises early enough so traders can prepare and comply.
Meanwhile, President John Mahama says the government is making every effort to minimize the impact of flooding across the country, stressing that while floods can be managed, they cannot be completely eliminated because they are natural disasters.
Aftermath of the floods that affected a lot of the southern coastal part of our country, I deemed it necessary for us to have a national security meeting to discuss the issues arising out of that natural disaster. It's become a recurring incident, but of course this was far worse than any that we have seen, both because of the vagaries of climate change. It looks like increasingly every year the rainfall is getting heavier, and it means that we have to see what mitigation measures to put in place. And so aside from that too, the pressures of urbanization, Accra being the capital, it is expanding at a very alarming rate, and the desire for land to build is increasingly making people encroach into areas that were formerly reserved for the passage of water and the containment of water. And so, of course, we've asked the Army to get involved in the flood mitigation measures, and then also NADMO and others are involved in relief, spreading of relief items. And so we want to look at what's been happening so far and what the measures we have to put in place going forward would be. Of course, we set up a task force before the incident occurred. They did some limited work in terms of dredging some of the waterways, but I mean, the amount of rainfall that fell this time, it was very difficult to contain. Happily, the Minister of Finance has released some money from the contingency fund for us to be able to finance the mitigation measures going forward. We might not be able to completely eliminate flooding because it's a natural disaster that happens not only in our part of the world, it happens in other areas. But we can minimize it and make its effect less disastrous like what happened. In this particular case, all countries from Gabon to Cote d'Ivoire reported flooding and some loss of lives, some much higher than us. And like we Christians say, in everything we give thanks. And we hope that we should be able to work so that we ameliorate the difficulty that people are suffering.
Well, beyond the physical cleanup, the Seventh-day Adventist Church says sanitation is closely linked to healthy living and responsible citizenship. The church believes maintaining clean surroundings is a collective duty and part of promoting a healthier community. We're now joined on Zoom or via Zoom by a representative of the Communications Director for Southeast Ghana Union, SDA, Dr. Samuel Dogbeto, to discuss the church's participation in the National Sanitation Day exercise. And of course, you will know why, because it's slated for tomorrow and Saturday. And so they are on highlight or focus. Now, thank you for joining us this afternoon. What specific activities will your members undertake during the National Sanitation Day exercise?
Good afternoon, Mefa. So grateful. As a Seventh-day Adventist Church, we issue a communication to our church members across Ghana. So I am here with my union president, Pastor Ken Retire. Peter Kobina Nyakudodio is right here with me. He will do some highlights, what we intend doing, joining the task for tomorrow as a Seventh-day Adventist family, and what we'll also be doing on Sunday. So my president is here.
Please proceed, Colonel.
Thank you so much. We believe that cleanliness is next to godliness. And the call that the president has made is a very important one. And therefore, I'm using this medium to call upon all our church members in the whole country that they should come up in their numbers. In Ghana, we have divided the church, grouped the church into 4 regions. So we have 4 presidents.
Okay.
And, we have had a meeting. And then all the presidents have also issued communique to all their jurisdiction that all the members should come out tomorrow. But for Saturday, you know that we go to church on Saturday. So for Saturday, we push ours to Sunday. And Sunday, we're also going to do community work. We clean our environment and we make sure that Ghana will be a clean country. And therefore, the next rainy season, there will be no flooding, no very little flood, which will not take any life because every soul is precious to God.
Right.
And we believe Ghana will do well in this direction.
Well, Colonel, thank you for that clarification. Of course, we're having this conversation because one of the days, really, it's Saturday. So it was just right we have this conversation. So how many churches or members are expected to participate across the country? Do we have any estimate?
Hopefully, for my jurisdiction, we have about 74,162 members, and we are encouraging them as much as we are expecting about 80% turnout tomorrow by the grace of God.
Okay, well, and beyond this exercise, what role do you believe churches should play in promoting sanitation and environmental stewardship?
And so we want to let our church members understand that they should not filter around. After drinking from the sachet, you keep it. You make sure that we have provided dustbin. Place them there and make sure that you don't block the passage of any river. And then we also encourage them that they should not build around river passages. They don't do that. If you know that is a water-prone area, don't build. Don't pay money and just acquire the land and build for no reason. We must respect the laws of sanitation and the environment. When we all do that, I think Ghana will be a better place.
Well, thank you so much, Colonel. Thank you as well, Doc, for both of you joining the news this afternoon. Wish you all the best tomorrow and on Sunday as well. Well, 3 members of a Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly KMA task force, including a military officer, were injured on Wednesday afternoon after squatters at the Asafo overpass resisted the demolition of unauthorized structures behind the Kokobot building in Kumasi. The operation saw the task force backed by police and military personnel moving to demolish the sharks and wooden kiosks. According to the assembly, the structures were illegally erected and obstructing the free flow of the Subin stream, which has contributed to perennial flooding in parts of the metropolis. Emmanuel Barikoko reports on how the assembly remains undeterred to evacuate squatters.
Tensions rose when occupants of the structures attempted to halt the task force from carrying out the exercise. Some of the occupants pelted stones and clubs at the task force immediately after they commenced the operation. Despite the resistance, the task force proceeded and pulled down several structures. However, the team was forced to retreat temporarily to avoid being injured by the angry mob. A member of the task force reportedly was hit by the missiles. We didn't occupy the land for free. We paid for it through local authorities. This place was impassable. It was then a den for miscreants, but now it is safe. Because we want to fight robbery, people have started business here. Some are into making of shoes, others sell groceries. Why demolish this place? Traders in the enclave were seen salvaging their wares from the debris as the bulldozer moved through the area to clear the illegal structures. The affected traders argued they had not been served any prior notice and that the demolition exercise would affect their livelihoods. I live with my child. I sell water and soft drinks. I came from Bolga to this place to fend for myself and child. Where do you want me to go now? When we came here, this place wasn't safe to live in. We have all started businesses to fight the illegality here. The Railway Authority gave us this place to occupy. The demolition exercise forms part of the KMA's ongoing efforts to decongest the Kumasi Central Business District and enforce building and sanitation laws. Richard Uforiajiman Bodi is Kumasi Mayor.
Some of our vehicles have been vandalized. We have lost one pickup in the process. Machine, the excavator, DJ machine that we sent to the excavator has been vandalized for about, I think, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Police also.
City guards. Yeah, the police station, they're taking their statements, they'll give them medical forms, and then we'll take them to the hospital for them to be given medical care. And then the investigation will continue.
Meanwhile, police have launched investigations to arrest persons who assaulted the security task force. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
Let's stay in the Ashanti region, where it's ready to participate in the 2-day national sanitation and cleanup exercise on Friday and Saturday, aimed at improving cleanliness in communities, preventing sanitation-related diseases and mitigation of floods. The Regional Coordinating Council is encouraging offices, schools, markets, and other corporate organizations to participate in the 2-day institutional and community cleanup. My colleague Emmanuel Bright-Kweku joins me with more on that. Emmanuel, how is Kumasi preparing for the exercise?
All right, so MFI, in fact, this was contained in a statement from the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, encouraging residents here and also corporate institutions to participate in the cleanup, the national cleanup exercise slated for tomorrow and then on Saturday. And so, according to the Regional Coordinating Council, tomorrow has been designated as the institutional cleanup day. And so, it is expected that the ministries, departments and agencies, and also the MMDAs, as well as hospitals, we talk of educational facilities in the region participating in this exercise. The Regional Coordinating Council is encouraging these officers to ensure that they clean up their frontages and as well the offices and even the immediate environs to ensure cleanliness in the community and also in the region. On Saturday will be a community-based cleanup exercise. Okay. And also it is expected that the residents here in the Ashanti region partake willfully in the silting of drains and also gutters that we are having here in the region, also helping in clearing weeds that we may find in medians as well as other places in the region. And so it is expected that some of the organizations, in fact, the Regional Coordinating Council also noted that the security agencies, we're talking of the immigration, the prison service, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, and also the Ghana National Ambulance Service partaking in this particular exercise. And so for the Ashanti region, quite a number of the institutions, corporate institutions, and even the residents are ready to partake in this exercise. And so hopefully tomorrow we should find a lot more of these officers.
But quickly, before I let you go, so has the demolition exercise halted or is still proceeding with another team?
Okay. All right, so with the demolition exercise, that's happened at the Asapo Enclave yesterday. In fact, they were going to clear these unauthorized structures over there. And so because of the scuffle that ensued between the task force and also the residents, the KMA temporarily suspended the exercise. And so the boss, the KMA boss, Richard Oforiajiman, says they will go back in a second phase to demolish that entire stretch and to make way for them to the silts, even the drains along that stretch. And so it is expected that, and maybe we don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow or even the next, but hopefully the second phase will happen.
Emmanuel, thank you. Amazing. Now, the Interior Minister is pushing for a shift in how Ghana responds to drug use, especially for people caught in minor drug offences. The ministry says they need help, treatment and support, not only punishment. Speaking at a conference in Accra, Deputy Interior Minister Ebenezer Oklete-Telabi said drug use must be treated as a public health and human rights issue alongside law enforcement. Nancy Kumsin reports.
Speaking on behalf of the Interior Minister at a national dialogue on drug policy, human rights and public health in Ghana, Deputy Interior Minister Ebenezer Oklete-Telabi says individuals involved in minor drug-related offences require rehabilitation rather than imprisonment.
That substance use is not only a criminal justice issue, but also a matter of public health, dignity and human rights. That was a bold decision. It aligned us with global best practice. It reflected the growing body of evidence that punitive only approaches do not solve the problem. However, today we must confront an uncomfortable truth. The full promise of that reform has not yet been realized. Across our institutions, we still see inconsistencies in how law is applied. We still see individuals entering criminal justice system for minor drug-related offenses where alternatives should exist. And we still see a gap between what our policies say and what happens in practice.
The Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, Brigadier General Maxwell Mante, also called for increased support and collaboration in addressing drug abuse, especially among young people.
We cannot do it alone as a Narcotics Control Commission. We need your support, we need your guidance, we need everything that you can offer to us to address the challenge. Because, like I always say, if we don't, a day will come, a time will come where we cannot find people like you seated here to discuss issues about national development. Any opportunity you get, whether you are a media man, whether you are a teacher, whether you belong to the civil society, talk to somebody about drugs. Take it as a personal project and talk about drugs. Because the rate at which it's working on our kids in secondary schools is very serious. I heard yesterday that a 5-year-old was introduced to drugs. I mean, how can this be? How can we sit here and allow this to happen?
The Ministry of the Interior says integrating a people-centered policy into standard operating procedures will help ensure a more effective and sustainable approach to addressing drug use in the long term. Nancy Kumsins reports for JoyNews.
Well, it's Throwback Thursday and Lois Shola is here to make it worth the while.
Well, it's time now for Showbiz. I am Lois Shola Ademi. Let's get into our stories. Now, for more than 3 decades, Daughters of Glorious Jesus have remained one of Ghana's most beloved gospel groups, blessing generations with songs of faith, hope, and worship. As we mark Throwback Thursday today, we're getting into things that they have done because absolutely they have done well for themselves. Please take a look at this.
For more than 3 decades, the gospel trio Daughters of Glorious Jesus has remained one of Ghana's most celebrated and enduring musical acts. Their songs have become timeless favorites in churches, homes, and gospel programs, touching lives across generations. Known for their rich harmonies and inspiring messages, the trio has built a lasting ministry rooted in faith, hope, and worship. Their remarkable longevity has made them a symbol of unity, consistency, and unwavering commitment within Ghana's music industry. Even in 2026, the group continues to connect with audiences by refreshing its sound while remaining true to its gospel mission. For many fans, Daughters of Glorious Jesus represent more than just music. They embody purpose, enduring friendship, and a lifelong commitment to ministry.
Well, moving away from that, one of the year's most anticipated films is almost here. Christopher Nolan's epic adaptation of the Odyssey sails into cinema on July 17, and excitement is already reaching fever pitch. With a star-studded cast, breathtaking visuals, and a red carpet packed with Hollywood's biggest names, the film's premiere has only added to the growing anticipation surrounding the mythological adventure.
Robert Pattinson, Peter Nyogo.
Well, we wish them all the best. MFA, what's your favorite Daughters of Glorious Jesus song?
It'll be all of it. I can't pick and choose.
You can't pick?
I promise, yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for watching the news, Shola, and thank you. That's quite nostalgic, but they're still with us, Shola. Well, for more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Thank you for watching.
Then I defy the gods.
The trailer teased